Hi, my name is Jacob Rodriguez. This is week 7 submission for Cody Vaughn's FTT 100 Intro to Firearms, Cleaning, and Cycle of Operations Lab. This is my Glock 17, safe and clear chamber, no magazine. Let's get started. For the purpose of this demonstration, we will pretend that there is a round in this magazine. Before anything can happen, we must feed the pistol. The operator will begin by manually loading a round into the chamber. As the slide moves rearward, the barrel travels backward for a very short distance before it is forced downward by the locking block, unlocking the chamber. The striker gets put under spring pressure, and at the end of the rearward stroke, a cartridge is presented by the magazine. Main spring pressure accelerates the slide forward, feeding the new cartridge. The striker is now being held with the sear, and the pistol is cocked. As the slide returns to its starting position, the fresh round is chambered once it is fully sleeved, and finally, the slide pushes the barrel forward and upwards to lock the system. The operator will then pull the trigger, releasing the striker and firing the round. Once obturation is complete, the case will force the slide rearward, driving the barrel down into the locking block and unlocking the chamber. An extractor will grab the rim of the case and pull it out of the chamber. When the slide reaches the end of its stroke, the ejector fixed in the frame will push the case out of the firearm. On the return of the slide, a fresh round is presented and the cycle can be repeated. I will now field strip the firearm for cleaning. Alright, so in feeding, the magazine spring pushes the follower, which pushes the new round into the feed ramp face of the slide, which then leads to chambering as the slide closes in on the fresh round. When it closes all the way, the chamber is now complete and it is properly chambered. For chambering, we need the chamber and the face of the slide, which leads to locking. We need the slide and the barrel. We also need the locking lug on the bottom of the barrel and the locking block, which sits in the frame. As the recoil spring or mainspring pushes the slide forward and it almost reaches its maximum forward position, it slides the barrel out of the locking block and forces it upwards into the locked position. For firing, the striker will be held in place under spring pressure against the sear. The trigger will then be pulled, pushing the connector, releasing the sear. This releases the striker, and the spring pressure pushes it forward. For firing, we need the fire control group with the trigger and trigger bar. This is also the trigger mechanism sitting in here. This whole thing comes out as a unit. We also need the striker and striker spring. For the unlocking process, we need the slide and the barrel, integrated locking lugs, and the locking block. The slide will start to move rearward, and the locking lug in the barrel will interface with the locking block, pulling it downwards, unlocking the chamber. Upon chambering, the extractor will have lifted up and gone over the rim of the cartridge. After firing, it will pull the fired case out of the chamber. For extracting, we need the extractor and plunger spring setup. As the slide reaches its maximum rearward position, the fixed ejector will interface with the back of the case, forcing it out of the firearm. For ejecting, we need the fixed ejector sitting in the trigger mechanism. As the slide moves back, the striker interfaces with the fire control unit and resets, known as cocking. For cocking, we need the striker to be sitting on the sear. The recoil spring is integral in the feeding, chambering, and locking, as it is the main force that drives the slide forward. The magazine release is only important to hold the magazine in place and to release it to insert a new one. And the slide stop lever, the only purpose for that is to lock the slide to the rear and lock it to the rear when you have an empty magazine installed. Cleaning will begin by brushing all of the dry carbon out of the frame, feed ramp, and off of the slide. You will also clean the inside of the magazine. Next, we will use Carbon Destroyer to clean all of the carbon out of the slide, feed ramp, and frame. Add Carbon Destroyer to one of your patches. Start by spinning the patch around the chamber to clean the chamber and pulling it through to put the Carbon Destroyer through the barrel. Run your brush through a couple of times and put a new patch with some more Carbon Destroyer. Repeat this process until patches start coming out clean. I like to use a drag on a solid rod to help push any remaining residuals out. Using Spartan Systems Accuracy Oil, wipe down the outside of the barrel, feed ramp, slide, we will finish by putting 1 drop of oil on each of the 4 slide rail cuts.